have suffered as far as challenging young guys, different positions, all can get through?
Well, obviously injuries are part of the game, and you got to just keep marching forward. You know, there are things that happen, especially on the offensive line, and you adapt to them. And the most challenging part of it, I think, right now is just, you know, some of these guys just haven't gotten the reps over the course of fall camp and over the course of this season that, you know, let's say a 1 or a 2 has. So when you bring, you know, a third string guy up, that's somebody who, you know, has maybe had 500 reps at something instead of a starter who's had, you know, several thousand, or a backup who's had, you know, 1,000 reps at something. So, you know, just the technique things that show up, the assignment things that show up, you know, those are usually a product of, you know, just not getting the same amount of reps as an older guy has.
Has there been any of the younger guys that have impressed you with how quickly they retained anything, or like anyone that's caught you off guard, like, okay, this guy's learning what I'm trying to put down?
Yeah, I want to say, you know, and I know, you know, Jackson had a rough game at right tackle yesterday or Saturday, whenever it was. But, you know, outside of 4 or 5 things that he did, 4 or 5 really bad plays right there, I thought he showed a lot of potential, right, in the things that he did. And obviously he was going against a very good defensive end. It'll be probably a day 1 pick, and that's tough, and it is what it is. It's what you got to do when you play tackle in the ACC, and you got to own that, and when he'll continue to get better. But I really like the way that he's developed his technique and continued to make strides in where he's at as a football player. I think Isaiah's kind of in that same category. You know, we saw him play the game before that. He was one that, you know, just didn't get the same reps that some of these starters have gotten. So him catching up with the technique of the pass sets and some of those things have been a little bit more of a challenge, but we're working at it. And the good thing is that we've got 2 weeks here, and then, you know, who knows how long in a bowl game prep to continue to work our individual with these young guys. But those are 2 guys that I think have done a phenomenal job of owning their preparation and owning their you know, ownership and technique.
As a coach, what can you do when a guy doesn't have a lot of reps and you're playing big important games?
You gotta get it done. You know, I mean, there's no excuse for, you know, having injuries and let the next guy up, next man up, and we gotta get them ready. So what we try to do is, you know, bring them in and get some, if they want, get some voluntary work with me outside of, you know, your normal hours. Get them in here, and again, that's all voluntary stuff. Watch a little bit more film, watch a little bit more tape of, you know, just individual drills. Here's where that foot should land. Here's where that right hand should be. Here's where that left hand should be. Just getting them in and getting them more prepared, because there's only so much you can do in practice, right? You only got so many hours that you can practice over the course of a day and a week. So where that the work to catch them up has got to happen in that meeting room right around that corner right there.
So Terrence and Isaiah and Jackson kind of entered the starting lineups at different times. I mean, are you pretty much just kind of trying to find who your best 5 guys, throwing them into action?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to battle test guys. You know, things look different in practice than they do in the game. So you try to find your best 5 guys that you can work with, and you don't truly know until you play under the lights on Saturday. So that's kind of been the process is, hey, let's get them out there and see what they do when it's game time, right? So I think we've gotten, you know, all those guys have gotten significant reps in a game, so we're probably starting to narrow it down on, you know, we're not there yet, but we're starting to narrow down on what we want to do over the last, I guess, will be a quarter of this season.
How do you think Ryan suggested to move from right tackle to left tackle?
It's been, you know, it's been a bit of a process. It's probably been a little bit more of a process than what I expected. Mostly with his hands has kind of been where he's had to do some growth right there. You know, when you play right tackle, you spend so many hours, you know, developing your left hand, your inside hand to protect your inside, and then, you know, all of a sudden you move over to left, and now you've got to develop that right hand to the same capacity as your left, and, you know, it's a little bit tougher to just flip things in your head than, you know, kind of what you think. So, but I think that he's taken a lot of ownership in it. He knows that if we can clean up 1 or 2 things in his sets, then he could be a really good player and be that left tackle of the future in this program. Because I really believe that he's got all the potential to do that in the world. And I think that once he, you know, kind of puts everything together, which he will pretty soon here, then he's going to be a real force.
There's so many moving pieces on the offensive line with being so late in the year. How do you attempt to cut back on the procedure penalties?
Yeah, I mean, that's just focus. You know, that's a focus thing. I don't want to give them a way out by saying, hey, just because you're a 2 or a 3, that it's okay to, to jump off sides, or a false start. They've just got to listen to the quarterback. They got to tune out the other noise that's happening around them. And again, I don't want to give an excuse, but there is a certain level of all of a sudden you're under, 40, 50,000 people and a big defensive line. And so there's a little bit of growth there, but it's not an excuse, and you can't use it as a way out. And they've just got to focus, and I've got to do a better job of preparing them for those situations when they arise.
You've worked, you've worked with Kay before. Has he had elements in the offense before of using the tight ends more to help, with the tight? It doesn't seem like Gavin or Jake really stay and all that. It seems like they're always running routes. Is that just part of how this offense is built?
A little bit. We did more of it in the second half of the Clemson game. You saw we did some slide protection where we matched Gavin up on the defensive ends, and that helped him out with the running back if he needed it. So it's something that it's available to us, and it's part of the use. Now, obviously, Gavin's a heck of a football player and an all-around football player, not just a blocker, but he can go out and catch too. And so there's different levels of the offense, and so we can get them in the protection like we did somewhat on Saturday, and we can help with chipping like they did on Saturday as well. Trying to get a piece of them. Kind of we started doing that in the second half once we noticed, hey, we've got an issue over here, and we got to try to address that.
What has BJ brought as kind of, I guess, the Iron Man in the group for the
Yeah.
one who's been around kind of the whole season?
Yeah, I love BJ. He's a heck of a football player, heck of a human being. He prepares himself as good as anybody. His bust rate is so low, I don't even know if it's got a percentage to it that I can assign to it. He's always on the right guy, and he plays physical. And he's, again, he's a younger guy, kind of about what you touched on a minute ago, about younger guys not using their youth as an excuse. And he's one that never does. He's always playing hard. He's always where he needs to be from an assignment standpoint. So he's definitely been an Iron Man for us. And, obviously, Cooper's one of those guys as well that's been, an Iron Man for us in the middle right there. And we're really excited about the future of those two guys.
Jeremy, Pat talked about, last week, you can't go out and get, free agents, and then you don't have another Branson Taylor. Obviously talking about the talent in your room there. How did you see your guys respond to that comment today? Have any reaction to it, or was it just like, hey, we got to play better?
No, I mean, we don't look at those, those guys don't look at, those articles that come out, anything like that. At least I don't think they do. If they do, they don't tell me about it. So what we watch is the film. And the film says that, hey, we've got to play better, then that's what it is. We've got to play better. So I think those guys, they know that, right now there's some room for growth in that room right there. And I think they're going to rise to that challenge. And I hope to see in the next, 2 to 3 games right here, I hope to see some of those guys take even further ownership in, the future of this offensive line room here over these next 3 weeks.
What's led to some of the procedure penalties, just especially in the last game? What did you see on the film that led to some of the problems you guys had?
Yeah, so we had BJ had one that was down there on going into the goal line right there, and that was unfortunate. He's just got to be tuned into the quarterback and not the defense. Obviously, the defense is always going to be barking something, trying to mess with your head and all that. And that's what we sign up for, and that's fine. In those high pressure situations like that, that's where he's got to just, hey, let's take a breath. Let's listen to the quarterback. Listen to what he's saying. Here's the cadence, and go on that. And then, obviously Timo had one there late in the game where he's got to, just again, it's just focus. Like I told her, it's just focusing on the quarterback and not any of those outside things. Not listening to the defense line, not listening to the crowd, being laser focused on your quarterback. So it's just something that we've got to improve, and we're doing that with crowd noise out there and all those different things.
Anything final? Coach, thank you.
Thanks, guys.